With what we do on the regional staff, that is a real treat to get to be with a community of faith over multiple weeks, to get to know a little bit about them, to get to know folks within the congregation. So thank you so much for this great privilege. And I bring you greetings from the American Baptist Churches of Rhode Island, from the regional staff. I invite you to join with me, if you'd like, on page 812 of the Pew Bible for our scripture reading, which comes from the first chapter of the Gospel according to Mark. Mark 1:16-20. As Jesus passed along the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." And immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went a little farther, he saw James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, who were in their boat mending the nets. Immediately he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men and followed him. On the bulletin board in my office at Canonicus, there's a cartoon that features a couple riding in a gondola. Sharks swim next to the gondola as it makes its way along a spooky-looking tunnel. The only light comes from a lamp attached to a skull that's mounted on the front of the gondola. And the gondolier appears to be the Grim Reaper. In the drawing, the wife turns to the husband and says, "Okay, so sometimes it is the destination and not the journey." I've hung on to that cartoon because I so often utter the words, "It's the journey, not the destination that matters." I really do believe that. But the cartoon reminds me that traveling a lifelong journey, especially a journey of faith, involves so much more than repeating a simple phrase. For the next few weeks, I invite you to join me in exploring what it might mean for us to travel life's journey as people of faith, from the youngest of us to the oldest. Sometimes the hardest part of any endeavor is getting started. The closet that needs to be cleaned out at home. The project that's been on our to-do list at work longer than we'd like to admit. The vacation we'd like to take but never get around to planning. Maybe we feel the same way about our journey of faith. We tell ourselves that if we could just find a way to get started or restarted, then surely we'd be able to manage the next steps. But how do we find a good place to start? Early in Mark's Gospel, we find the stories of 4 people who start their journeys of faith. Simon and his brother Andrew are the first pair. Jesus sees them doing their job, throwing out their fishing nets. Mark doesn't tell us any of the details. Why Jesus picks them, whether there's any kind of conversation, what questions may have been asked, what feelings these fishermen may have. All Mark tells us is that Jesus says, "Follow me," and the 2 brothers get up and go. 2 more brothers, James and John, are next. They're farther down the beach, sitting in a boat with their father and mending their nets. Once again, Mark gives us a bare bones story. Jesus comes, sees, and calls, and the brothers follow. If we're looking for a good place to start our own lifelong journey of faith, these stories may not help as much as we hope. Maybe it's hard to connect with them because they're so condensed and abrupt. They also raise questions that Mark simply doesn't answer. Mark doesn't provide any sense of the inner struggle that's involved in making this kind of decision. He leaves out details about the process of deciding, discerning, choosing. Details that might help us as we consider traveling our journey of faith. Maybe Mark leaves out the process because the process isn't his point. When it comes to thinking about our faith journey, Mark's point is that Jesus calls us to go with him. Mark's point is that we have to decide whether to follow. It's not about committing to a religion or a creed or a denomination. Jesus doesn't say, come be a Christian, or come embrace this theology, or come do ministry in this one particular way. He says, come follow me. And that call may provide a good place to start as we think about our faith journey. I agree with the writer who notes that when most of us think about our calling, we think of something we're supposed to do or some career God may be asking us to take up. And some of us, let's be honest, get a little chewed up about this, maybe even a little frustrated that we don't have a better sense of what we're supposed to be about. We wonder why God doesn't just show us how to find our calling. But as this writer adds, the Bible is amazingly unanxious about all of that. One calling comes first: to follow Jesus. And in doing that, we can find a huge freedom to do what we do best, to do what we love best. Maybe that's another good starting place for our lifelong journey of faith. Simon and Andrew and James and John all hear Jesus call and start their journeys while doing what they do best. For them, it's fishing. And Jesus offers to transform that into something new. Something that will become a way to live rather than just a way to earn a living. Jesus offers to teach them to fish for people. But what if they hadn't been fishermen? Might Jesus' call have come in a different way? If they'd been carpenters, might Jesus have invited them to follow him and become builders of God's reign? If they'd been doctors, might Jesus have invited them to become healers of people's souls? If they'd been weavers, might Jesus have invited them to weave a tapestry of love? If they'd been mechanics, might Jesus have invited them to repair broken lives? If we can imagine that, then maybe we can envision Jesus inviting us to follow him and joining God's work right where we are, doing right what we do. We don't have to wait to start or restart our journey until we become someone or something else. Instead, we're free to bring the best of who we are and what we do. As one writer puts it, Whether you are a lawyer or an artist, a nurse or a stay-at-home parent, a teacher or a supervisor, a rocket scientist or a ditch digger, Jesus calls you to use the talents and strengths and knowledge and passions that you have to make the contribution to God's kingdom that you alone can make. If we can imagine hearing Jesus call in that way, then perhaps we can give up some of the things that may stop us from starting or restarting our lifelong journey of faith. We can give up focusing on what we don't have or who we can't be. We don't have to be as rich or as successful or as talented as someone else. We don't have to know as much or be able to do what someone else can do. We don't have to be older or younger. While we're able to learn and grow as we travel our journey, the things we don't have or can't do shouldn't stop us from taking the first steps. We can simply start from where we are, trusting that if we follow Jesus, He'll transform who we are and what we have into something that will matter. In one of her books, the author Barbara Brown Taylor tells about a time in her life when she struggled with her sense of call. She couldn't figure out what it was that God wanted her to do and be. Did God want her to be a writer, a pastor, a social worker, a teacher? She simply didn't know. In frustration, one night she fell down on her knees and prayed, "Okay, God, you need to level with me. What do you want me to be? What do you want me to do? What are you calling me to do?" She felt a powerful response from God. Do what pleases you. Belong to me, but do what pleases you. It struck her as strange that God's call could actually touch that place of her greatest joy, that she could be called to do the thing that pleased her most. The author Frederick Buechner echoes a similar understanding when he writes, "Our calling is where our deepest gladness and the world's hunger meet." Doing what brings us deep gladness and meets the world's hunger. It's not a bad place to start, is it? Several years ago, a woman named Grace Thomas was buried in the cemetery of the First Baptist Church in Decatur, Georgia. You've probably never heard of Grace Thomas, and there's really no reason you should have. She was the child of a streetcar conductor from Birmingham, Alabama. She fell in love with a boy from Georgia Tech, and she moved to Atlanta and married him. To help support her family, she took a job as a secretary at the Georgia State Capitol. Through that job, Grace became interested in politics and the law. She enrolled in law school, taking classes at night. When she finally graduated, she astonished her family by announcing, "I'm not going to practice law. I've decided to run for political office." Her family asked, "What office?" expecting her to say the school board or the library committee. But Grace said, "I'm going to run for the governor of Georgia." And so in 1954, she ran for governor. There were 9 candidates that year, 8 men and Grace. There were 9 candidates, but only one real issue, school integration. The U.S. Supreme Court had handed down its decision in Brown v. Board of Education. 8 of the gubernatorial candidates said they thought people in Georgia should resist integration with every fiber in their being. Only one candidate, Grace Thomas, said she thought school integration was the coming of justice. Her campaign slogan was, "Say grace at the polls." Not many people did. She ran dead last. Her family was relieved, thinking she'd gotten the urge to run for office out of her system. But she hadn't. In 1962, she ran for governor again. This time, the civil rights movement was in full swing, and the stakes were high. Grace went around the state with a message of progress and racial harmony. She received death threats, and so her family traveled with her to try to protect her. One day, she went to give a campaign speech in the little town of Louisville, Georgia. The centerpiece in Louisville isn't a Civil War monument or county courthouse. Instead, it's an old slave market where human beings were bought and sold. Grace decided to give her speech under the canopy of that slave market. There she addressed a group of farmers and merchants. She pointed at the slave market and said, "This, thank God, has passed, and the new has come. It's time for Georgians to join hands, all races together." Somebody in the crowd shouted at her, "Are you a communist?" "No," she said. "Well then, where did you get those gall-darn ideas?" Grace thought about it for a minute. Then she pointed at the steeple of the nearby First Baptist Church and said, "I got them over there in Sunday school." Grace had begun her journey a long time before that day when she stood as a candidate for governor. She'd begun her journey before she knew where it might take her, before she'd gotten married, had a family, gone to law school. But Grace had heard a call, one that invited her to begin a journey, and she responded by starting that journey, one that had led her to a place where the things that brought her gladness in the form of meaning and purpose met with the hungers in the world around her. Each of us has the opportunity to begin and then continue a lifelong journey of faith. May we, like those fishermen so long ago, hear Jesus' invitation and follow. Follow without worrying whether we're ready or qualified. Follow without worrying whether who we are or what we do is enough. Follow without worrying whether we're too young or too far over the hill. May we, like Grace Thomas, trust that God will be with us along that journey. Trust that we can use what brings us deep gladness in ways that also helps meet the world's great hungers. Trust that as followers of Jesus, we can stand for love and justice, especially for the most vulnerable of our world, regardless of our denomination or faith tradition, regardless of our race or nationality, regardless of our political affiliation or economic status. And may we find hope in discovering that where we are is a good place to start after all. Amen. I invite you to stand as you are able and join in singing